It's like spring dew afternoon with a pine forest.
Damn. I could almost like smell that out of here.
What was it?
I was going to let you do the intro.
We're back at the Beer Garage and A-Town's house.
A-Town's Zone.
For craft beer conversations. And first, we're going to start off with an IPA and then compare it. And then we're going to try something off the wall crazy and compare it. So what IPA do you got today?
So the IPA I'm going with, which I love that we're doing this format. I feel like this is a lot of fun. That we're both having the same style IPA, but as both of us know, like there's so many different styles of just within an IPA.
Yeah.
So even though we're having the same kind of beer, we could be having two things that are completely off the wall different from each other.
Yeah, like a completely different experience.
For mine, what I'm going with is Big Ditch's Hay Burner, a 7.2% American IPA. I've had this plenty of times before. I have reviewed it as well on my site, atownzone.com. And this is like my go-to IPA. It's like available pretty much everywhere on tap across Buffalo, wherever they have more than just like your domestic Bud Light, Blue Light, Coors Light. Whenever they have like a craft beer or a nice IPA on tap, it's usually always Hay Burner. And it's always a consistently good beer. Main reason I chose this one for today's activity, I guess you could call it, that we're doing, is that like I just feel like it's such a reliably good IPA that I figured it would be a good one to really discuss and dive into. What about you?
That sounds good. Is it just like a traditional?
Yeah, it's like a Citra tradition. It's like a Citra IPA traditional. I want to say it's Citra, and actually it's a whole bunch of hops. It's Warrior, CTZ, Cascade, Glacier, and then Falconer's Flight hops.
Wow, so, I've only heard of the Cascade. I haven't heard of it.
Yeah, actually, me too. I feel like I've definitely heard of Warrior hops too, but they're not as regularly available. But I've had this beer probably well over 100 times before, and I always just thought it was like mainly based on Citra and Galaxy or Mosaic, one of those two. So actually kind of cool. I just learned something new there. What are you having?
I have Woods and Waters by Maine Brewing Company. It's a classic IPA. Similar to your situation, I always used to grab this wherever I could find it back in the day, and then I kind of deviated far away from IPAs and into like the German and international stuff. So this is exciting. I haven't had this in a while. It's very like nature based commemoration of the Katahdin Woods and Waters National Monument. They have a lot of like Maine grown malts and wheat, and it doesn't say what the type of hops is, but it says it's going to be piney and citrusy.
Yeah, so we're both getting into citrusy type beers. So I feel like that's actually even a cooler comparison there. And it's nice that we've had it a bunch of times. So I've never had that specific IPA from Maine, but I have had a few Maine Brewing Company beers that were all really good. From what I remember.
A big one is a big one that's easy to find around is Lunch IPA.
Yes, I think I've had lunch and dinner before.
Yeah.
But Lunch is the main one I was thinking of. I think I had that like a couple of years ago at like a poker game, and guy brought it over, so I split it with him.
It's so good.
And I remember it being really great. So we want to crack these open, and
let's crack it open. All right, nice straw color.
Yeah, mine's real hazy, very orange. Normally when I have this at home, I always just drink it directly out of the can. Like for me, when I have a beer that I've had a whole bunch of times and consistently at it, I'm not quite as picky with like, I'll just drink it right out of the can.
Yeah.
Where like anytime I try a brand new beer, I always go with the glass and like pour it nicely and everything. So it's kind of nice to pour it this way, even though every time I have it on tap, obviously at a bar, it's in a glass, but you could tell it's like almost different that you see like the sediment almost in it.
Yeah.
Out of the can where you never see that on tap. But yeah, like similar to yours, it's definitely like a nice hazy orange color. Looks like mine's definitely darker than that though. So they should be different styles.
Yeah, yours might be a little more fruity.
Yeah, definitely. And you do like a whole scale for how you rate beers. Did you want to go through that whole scale with both of ours?
Yeah, well, I mean, we can rifle through it quick. It's just the smell, color, and taste.
So
normally-
color, we just discussed that. What you
Yeah.
think of the color on yours?
I like it. It's like, it's very refreshing looking.
Yeah. Yours actually looks more refreshing than mine does, but I like the color on mine a lot too. It like you can tell it's very flavorful just from the color.
Yeah, yours looks like very juicy.
Yeah. Yeah, like you're about to take a bite into a fruit.
Yeah.
So then the next one, smell, right?
Yep. Oh, wow.
I'll let you go first. You had a huge reaction there. So
It's like spring dew afternoon with a pine forest.
damn. I could almost like smell that out of here with just that description alone. Mine has like a very like grapefruit citrusy scent to it while
Okay.
still being like that dank, fresh hoppy scent.
Yeah.
So a lot of IPAs I have now on a regular basis are like these very small batch beers, which have such more distinct notes that don't really smell like a beer as your first thing. Where this one still has that like classic beer scent, which I still like. Like I love drinking beer. So
Is it like piney at all? Like, is that dankness, like, does it have any pine, or is it like straight, like skunky, earthy?
I would say it's like more of a skunky, but it does have some pine to it for sure. But
Okay.
that overwhelming scent is like a grapefruit.
Okay. That's interesting.
And then taste, best part, right?
Yep. Cheers.
Cheers.
Ah,
Mine's great. It's always like this is such a consistently good beer. It's very light and fruity as you take that first, like as it hits the front of your palate. But as it finishes, it gets way heavier and like very full flavored.
yeah.
And that flavor is very consistent with the scent being like a forward taste with actually a little bit more pininess on the back of it than the scent had for just like an overall very complete beer. That's why I really like having it on a regular basis because it's available everywhere. Like I feel like you don't get a craft beer that's that consistent,
Yeah.
that good every time you have it.
Yeah. That's important. It's like, you don't want any like variants or anything. Like, you don't want to be like, oh my God, it tasted amazing last month, and now it's not tasting like that.
Yeah, we're like so one of the breweries that I have a lot, Froth in Buffalo, their signature IPA, it's called Juice Life. I actually don't think I've ever reviewed it, but I have it usually. What I usually do when I go there is they're mainly focused on like smoothie style sours, like just these juicy, delicious sours. Not so much for their IPAs, but a few years ago when they opened, their like first beer was their like signature Juice Life IPA. And I thought the first time I had it, it tasted to me like they were like trying to knock off Hay Burner essentially.
Yeah.
And it just sucked. But now, like every time I go to the brewery to pick up cans of their sours, I usually always get a Juice Life on tap because it's so consistently good.
Yeah.
That was never the case with Hay Burner. It was good from the very first time I had it to this time as I'm having it now. And it's always been very consistent.
Hold on, my laptop's dying. Let me grab the I need to plug it in. All right, yeah, I refilled my glass, but
Perfect.
so it tastes like, so hard to explain. It's very similar to the smell, but for some reason it puts in my mind just like a very like picturesque like stream, just like in some like very rich green forests. And it's just kind of that vibe. Like you
That's awesome when you could like paint a picture of how just drinking a beer makes you like feel and like picturing of that. Like that's incredible.
Yeah. That's why I love beer. It just takes me to different places.
Yeah, that's and like I could like in my head, I'm like imagining what that like site tastes like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is dope.
There's the pine, but it's not just the pine. It's almost like it's like that dew smell.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I could picture how, or I don't know if picture is the right word for it. I could like imagine how that tastes off of just that like dewy, like dew on grass in the middle of like a nice like picturesque forest with like you said, like a stream running through it.
Yeah.
Like I imagine that taste. That was awesome.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's like it just has a very crisp, like fresh taste to it.
Now, as you go through the beer, like from your very first taste to as like it's warming, as we're sitting here talking about them and drinking them, has that taste changed at all from like the first sip to?
It's definitely like settling into the flavor. It's settling into itself, so it's like I'm able to pick more details out, but it just keeps getting better. How about for yours?
So for mine, it's actually getting like more piney as I go. So like you still get that like fruit blast of it's very grapefruit-esque. And I think that's even on the can actually. Primary notes of orange, melon, and grapefruit with a slightly earthy finish. So I don't really get the earthiness. I get a lot more of that pininess and that like dank fresh hop.
Yeah.
But it definitely has that grapefruit for sure as that like main flavor at the front. But as it warms and like you said, settles, I feel like I'm getting more pine out of it too, especially on the back end.
That's interesting. So I think that's like maybe like the common denominator between ours is that pine, but I think we're getting like two different sides of the pine.
Yeah, and I feel like mine, it's like if I had to picture it and draw it up, it's like these like in the middle of like a forest, where like yours, I'm almost picturing it as like a nice open field with like trees around, but mainly like nice wide open, fresh, clean air. Where mine, I'm like feeling like dense middle of the forest, like when you're in like the middle of a hike through like the woods with a bunch of pine trees around you, nice thick heavy pine trees, and like you just stop, look up, look at the beauty of the trees, and like open up your bag and get like a great. I would never just grab grapefruit out of my bag and eat it randomly like that, but like that's like the flavor profile that I would describe it. I would do that with an orange, but the beer itself is like a grapefruit.
That's cool though. So like it's kind of bringing us to the same like spaces, I guess.
Yeah. So I know like I've definitely said in the past, like this beer like reminds me of like sitting at X spot, and like that's like the feelings that the beer brings to you.
Yeah.
Well, like I've never really thought of how we're talking about it, where you're like almost describing a scene just based on the profile of the beer.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's incredible. Like
I get into binds sometimes though, because I'm like, I overthink it where like the flavor could be so simple. And I'm like, I don't know how to explain it, but I'm only explaining it. I'm trying to explain it through like visionary terms instead of like through tasting it.
It's like very like mushroomy, like based to me, like
yeah.
Which is cool.
So what would you rate yours?
It's like it's a very consistently good beer. So my scale that I do my beer reviews on is out of 5. I know I did talk about this on our last show, but no need not to talk about it again. But the way I came up with my scale was like I went off of like Dave Portnoy's pizza reviews are out of a 10.
Yeah.
And like Untapped, which most of the craft beer community uses to rate beers, which I don't. I actually have my own little like rating system that I run on my website, along with just a like 15-page Word document on my phone that I just track every beer on. But they go off of a scale of 5 to the decimal places. So I kind of combined the two and did like a scale of 5 to just 1 decimal place.
Okay. Yeah.
So on this, at least on this time of having it, which actually after I give you my rating of this, I'll look up what I rated it when I reviewed it, whenever I did the review of it. But I would say like a 3.8, 3.9, somewhere in there.
Okay. So overall.
Yeah. Out of 5. So I actually didn't record my review of this until September 2021. So like 6 months ago now, but I gave it a 3.9. So that just shows how,
the consistency.
That is. Yeah. How about yours? I'm kind of guessing that yours is actually going to be a higher rating than I gave mine.
I don't know. I can't tell if I'm biased though, because I love this so much. But
well, I mean, that's what you're rating though. Like you're rating your own personal opinion of that beer.
That's true.
So if you love it, it should be high.
So I rated on a Spillage. I rated on a 1 to 10 scale, and it's kind of a loose thing. I'm trying to dial it in because I've been getting a little bit too many high numbers. This one for the color, out of 10, I think I'm gonna give that a 10. Like that's like a lemon pop.
Beautiful color for sure.
Yeah, it's just like all the way through the same haziness. For the smell, I can't get past the head here. The smell, I'm gonna do like a I'll do a 8 out of 10. I don't know what's keeping me from doing a 10, but I want to reserve the high numbers.
You just don't want to go all the way to 10.
Yeah. For the flavor,
and this is the most important one, right?
Yeah. Fuck it. I'll just give it a 10.
So that's a 29 point, what was the decimal you gave the smell?
Oh, I forgot. Fuck. I don't know, let me do it again.
Somewhere in there. That's pretty fucking good.
I think I did like a 9.8.
Yeah, so that's huge. 39.8 or 29.8 out of 30.
Yeah. This is a definite must try. I mean, it's not cheap, but if you see it, it's definitely worth picking it up.
Yeah, I'll absolutely look. Like now, especially just hearing that description you just gave.
Yeah, I find also it's like if you're coming off of like yard work, this would be perfect.
I love those kind of beers like during the summer. And I know I've said this in reviews before too. Like after you finish mowing the lawn,
yeah,
best beer ever, no matter what beer it is the one you crack right when you finish the lawn.
Even a Heineken would taste like good.
Yeah, where like Heineken I think sucks.
Yeah.
But you're right. As soon as you finish mowing the lawn, any beer tastes good, even the Heineken. I would definitely have to try that main one.
Yeah, it's definitely worth a try.
And I think you would like Hayburner. And what's nice about this too, to cap this off, is that you can get cans of these too at like almost every gas station around here.
Oh, right.
So they're like a very consistently easy to get one. Like I don't have to, like this beer that I'm gonna try in a little bit when we get to those crazy beers. Like most of the beers I get now are from all kinds of crazy sources. So it's like a breath of fresh air to go back to the outdoor comparison.
Yeah.
Be able to just walk in a gas station down the street from me and grab Hayburners that are just such a consistently good beer.
Yeah, there's no gas stations that sell beer in Connecticut. So it's like
really?
Yeah, it's kind of, I didn't realize that gas stations sold beer until like I started to like pay attention to gas stations in New York. So I'm like, oh shit, they sell beer. And like, so like,
you're like right on the border, right? Of Connecticut and New York.
Yeah. So there's like a gas station, maybe like 20 minutes away, I would say. I used to go there all the time after hours. I like to pick stuff up.
Yeah. Cause you can buy beer whenever. Where,
they have some like mid-level stuff though. They have like what's it called? Like the Flying Dog or like Mad Dog. They have a lot of like those, they're not like mainstream IPAs, but they're not total like tiny microbreweries. It's like the stuff you'd normally see out at like
at a beer store kind of thing.
Yeah.
Do you guys sell wine and liquor at grocery stores though in Connecticut?
I haven't been out in a while, so I don't know. I think we used to.
In New York, what's weird is that like they could sell beers and like hard seltzers at grocery stores, but wine and liquor and even like a High Noon where it's like real alcohol and not like that malt shit that's in like Trulies and White Claws.
Yeah.
When it's like the real vodka and stuff like that that's in there to make it up, those ones you can't buy at grocery stores and you gotta go to a liquor store for. So It's like all these states have such ass backwards alcohol rules for like where they can sell them.
Yeah, and it's like also with shipping, like I'm not allowed to ship beer out, but I'm allowed to have beer shipped to me.
You are or aren't?
I'm not allowed to, like if I wanted to send you this, like I wouldn't be able to, but you can send me stuff. Like I don't know, it doesn't make any sense.
Technically, I can't either, actually.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, it's legal, but
somebody won a beer giveaway. Like I ran one like a year ago. I went to the post office with like just the box and stuff of the beer, and the guy was like, "Oh, what's in there?" I said, "A beer." And he was like, "You're lucky I'm working here today. If it was my coworker, he would have had the police here immediately." And I'm like, oh, I didn't know. Like,
yeah, like
why is it that bad?
Yeah, like I've never gotten asked, but I've heard the like trick for anyone out there listening is like if they ever asked you, like if they could hear like liquid sloshing around in the box, first off, make sure you put it in like a generic box. I always use like the flat rate boxes since beers are heavy. So the flat rate box doesn't matter how heavy it is, it's always the same price. But if they could hear it like sloshing around, which you could kind of like prevent that with like just like newspaper and bubble wrap and shit in the box. If they ever ask, which I just learned this from a kid that sent me beer, is just tell them that they're paint cans that are completely sealed individually.
Okay,
So
yeah,
that even if they like break, it's like all self-contained.
that makes sense. Yeah.
Can't say anything. But I've never had anyone ask in the handful of times I've done it.
Okay, and maybe it's just the post office I went to.
Yeah, it's just the person working at the post office is a dick. Man.
I'm like, fine, guy. If you win the contest, I won't be able to send you beer then.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I know you're not getting any.
There is a thing, however, though. You can do a there's like 2 licenses that you can get. There's I think you have to get both. It's called a premises license, and there's something else, but you have to have like a steady flow of beer selling to do that. That's the only issue.
Yeah, and like most normal people don't do that. It's like that's probably for like small time brewers that don't want to open a location with ship stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if they're doing that, they're like they're not gonna have a customer base that's gonna want that many beers, right?
Yeah, or either that, or you'd be big enough where you'd probably already need a space anyway.
Yeah, and then it doesn't matter at that point. To transition to the next portion of this podcast, what me and Pat are going to do is actually drink. What we kind of told each other was that we're just going to find the craziest beer that we could find, whether it was in our fridge or at like a local beer store or something, and review that for the beer that I selected for my most crazy one. And I just got this sent to me not too long ago from a buddy that I did a trade with, and I had no idea what was coming back for me. For the most part, I just told him like, pick cool beers that I've probably not had before. This one he sent me is brewed and packaged by Saltfire Brewing Company, and this is Heavy Metal Parking Lot. What confused me there is on the can, it says like the Heavy Metal Shop, Salt Lake City. Oh, it's a collaboration with the Heavy Metal Shop. I don't know what the Heavy Metal Shop is. I don't know if it's a brewery or not. Like, I kind of find it cool when other breweries do weird collabs with like completely random other groups. Like the one I posted earlier today was Angry Chair Brewing in Florida collaborated with like a rock band. So I thought that was kind of cool. I don't know if this is that same thing. I've never heard of the Heavy Metal Shop. Either way, let's get into it. All right, brew review time. On today's review, I'm drinking a real interesting style of beer that I don't even remember the last one of these I had. This is a American Black Lager. This is from Saltfire Brewing Company in Salt Lake City, Utah, and it's made in collaboration with the Heavy Metal Shop. I don't really know what the Heavy Metal Shop is. I don't know if it's a brewery. I don't know if it's some other style of store, like a music store or something, but some kind of shop called the Heavy Metal Shop in Salt Lake City. Saltfire Brewing collaborated with them. I don't think I've ever had anything from Saltfire before. I might have, not 100% sure, but I just don't remember anything sticking out from there. But this is their Heavy Metal Parking Lot. Like I said, American Black Lager. It also says Judas Priest on there, like the band. And actually on the description, it just says, the year was 1986. Judas Priest was playing the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland. Intoxicated hardcore fans tailgating in the parking lot, and it was a thing of beauty. Play metal statement. So it's kind of sticking with that theme. 6.66%, like 666. I think I might have had like maybe 1 or 2 American Black Lagers ever before, and I don't even remember the last one I had. So I'm interested to see what that style brings out of this beer. And the ingredients on it are 2-row dextryl malt, debittered roasted malt, water, Magnum hops, and yeast. So the Magnum hops are the only ones there. I want to say that's like Magnum hops are usually used in like maltier beers where you don't really taste the hops as much. So really interested to try this. Like I don't even remember what an American Black Lager is. So this one really stands out, especially versus all of the IPAs, stouts, and sours that I usually get into. So it poured like a very thin, light looking beer, but just black in color. It is like a bit lighter of a black. Like it's not like a very deep, dark, dense black like you would see in like a stout or even a porter. And what else is interesting is the head. Like I guess I'm just used to like a black, dark beer having like that espresso style head, where this one, it's almost like you would expect like a golden beer with that kind of color of a head to it. So definitely unique on that style. Smelling it, it doesn't really smell like anything, to be honest. Like I don't really get any scent out of it, which is also weird. So like, I guess it just kind of smells like a very light lager, but there's no particular scents that stick out there. So I guess let's just get into the taste. It's good, but there's not a whole lot there. Like it almost just tastes like a regular lager with a little more malty of a taste. It's very light. If I had to guess, I would not guess that this was as heavy as 6.6%. I would guess this would be like more like a Bud Light or a Blue Light would be at like 4-ish, but it's not bad. It's very refreshing. So like the color of the black lager kind of plays tricks on you there. Not a bad beer, but it just doesn't stick out at all. Let's go with a 2.6. I guess it does have that like almost like rye bread, pumpernickel bread kind of taste at the end of it, like a brown ale would, but not very prominent at all. Like the few like brown ales and dunkels and stuff I've had, which looked similar to this, had like very, very heavier and dense flavors to them, where this does not. This one just like kind of tastes like lager. But yeah, it's not my favorite style, but I'm glad I tried it out. So that's a review.
So a little underwhelming there?
A little underwhelming, but yeah, kind of underwhelming. Like it almost just tastes like a Bud Light that was just dyed black.
Wow, really? From what I can remember from the one I've had, it was very like Scotch ale-y. It had a lot of like the pumpernickel malts, but it also had like a little bit of coffee and like a little just something else to make it dark.
Yeah, like I don't really get that out of this one, which like I think that was what I was like. I was almost expecting like a brown ale dunkel kind of taste, and this doesn't have it. Like I love Bud Light and Blue Light. Like those were the beers that I started drinking when I was like 16. So I think it's like if this was a golden color and it tasted exactly the same, I would just think like it has like a different aftertaste to it, but it just tastes like a normal lager.
I mean, yeah, it's interesting for 6% also for it to taste that light.
Yeah, like it tastes light for sure.
All right, I'm gonna dive into mine here. I don't know. I know nothing about this at all. I just picked it up because like look at this label. Like
that's when you sent me the picture of that before you reviewed it, I thought like that's one of the sickest looking beers I've seen. And you said it's a Berliner, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much all it says. I mean, it says a lot about like the Berliner style. It said that this is brewed in the style of like a 1600s Berliner. Here, I'm just gonna read the label. I'm gonna record for Instagram real quick. I'm gonna start that up. All right, we're back at the Beer Garage with a very special beer review, and we're currently doing a podcast here. Let me flip the cam.
What's up?
I can't even get the actual screen. That's weird. Podcast with A-Town's review, or A-Town Zone. And this is our part of the section where we're doing our crazy beer. And this is the crazy beer I found. So let me get into this. Already in the 1600s, the Berliner Weiss style beer was mentioned in the documents by the French reformers as they crossed Berlin. And in 1809, the Emperor Napoleon and his troops celebrated their Prussian victory with it. This, along with traditional strain of lactic acid bacteria, provide a fruity and dry but palate-full character. So this is a Berliner Weiss created in the, I guess, 1809 style of Berliner Weisses. Let's hope it's not spoiled. Let's dive in here. I'm gonna try to not get the funk at the bottom of the bottle. What the hell? What is happening here? Almost identical.
Very similar.
Yeah. Whoa. That's funky. It keeps changing every time I smell it. It's like vinegary, but without the stickiness of that smell, like without the weird musty smell. It's like just the sourness of the vinegar, a little bit of lemon and cracked pepper, and some strange fruitiness. That's interesting. Let's dive in. It's very straightforward. Cheers. Oh, wow. That's something I can't even begin to explain. What is that? but this is probably the best Berliner I've had on the channel and in general. All right, let me try real hard. As I go in to take this, take the sip, it smells like apple juice. Like that's exactly the vinegary bitterness I was describing, is the apple juice. A tiny, tiny touch of just some kind of bread. I don't taste the lactic acid at all. And then just the classic Berliner funk on the back end. But there's something else with that orange or the apple juice, like some kind of wood. Wow, no, that's great. So let's rate it. Color, it's almost identical, a little bit darker. I'm gonna go, what did I rate this? A 10? I'm gonna rate this a, no, fuck. Fuck. Well, let's try this here.
Doug,
There's holes in the bottom of this. It's not working.
you tried.
Color, I'm gonna do a 10. Oh, that smells like a Scotch whiskey. That's beautiful. So that's gonna be, I mean, I don't like Scotch whiskey, but it smells nice here. I'm gonna do 9.5 out of 10. If I liked Scotch whiskey, it would be a 10. For the flavor, that's like a 10.5. I'm breaking the scale for that one. And see us back for more at Pat's Beer Garage. All right, so that was it.
I got a whole bunch of notes on that. And we'll have to go back to what you said with like the Scotch taste and stuff, because I have a whole other topic I want to discuss on that with you, with like barrel aged stuff. But you said it has like a vinegary apple juice taste to it. Like more of like a apple cider vinegar kind of thing, or just like
not really. Like it's really apple forward. Like it's really like you really get that juice, but it just has that like that same twinge of funkness to it. Like it's like really apple juice, but it's just like accented with like a little bit of I think it might be like the bacteria.
So did it almost taste like a hard cider kind of thing? Like a craft hard cider, or was it like very?
This is like a luxurious. This is like very luxurious.
That's cool.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to get this again. I'm surprised. I'm glad it's not split.
Yeah, I mean 10.5 out of 10. That's huge.
I don't know what percentage. 5%.
So nice and light, easily drinkable. Does it have like almost like a wild ale kind of taste, or not really? Or is it just light?
Yeah, I think that's what that funk is. Like kind of that wild ale.
Yeah, I feel like I've noticed that mostly any sours that get bottled that I've had, they've had like more of that like wild taste to it versus like canned ones that don't. And I don't know if that's just because that's what breweries decide to bottle rather than can. That's what I've noticed is like a lot of the bottled beers end up having more of that, like that kind of wild-ish taste to it.
It's that
your description of it really like made it stand out, like, and especially when you said you didn't really like Scotch ales and that like it had that scent to it, but it didn't taste like that, and that it like tasted more like almost like a wild ale. And like I kind of pictured that you were getting that wild ale taste just from your description of it.
It definitely that like
was real interesting to me.
It definitely tastes and smells like it was in like an oak fodder or something.
And like you gave it a hugely high rating. Like I didn't think that you would get that as high up as you gave the IPA.
Yeah, I didn't either. I thought this would be spoiled.
I'd see like going into it just from the description of it that you gave me and just from like how cool the bottle looked and everything. I figured that you would give it like a pretty good mid-range score, but nothing insane. Like I definitely thought that the IPA would be a higher kind of beer for you and a higher rating. It's awesome that wasn't the case. You really loved it.
I mean, it's like it depends what kind of vibe I'm looking for. Like if I'm looking to relax, then I'll definitely pick the IPA. But if I'm looking to get like really excited, then I would drink the Berliner.
Yeah, like if you're trying to party, you're gonna have Berliner.
Yeah, because it's just like it really pumps me up though. It's so well rounded though. It's just there's nothing that's weak. It just kind of just flows over your tongue in one uniform shape.
Another thing I feel like I've noticed is that a lot of the modern sours are like kind of based on that Berliner Weiss style.
Yeah.
And then come off of that for like really good flavored beers without being overwhelming. So I think that's great.
Yeah, I'm blown away.
And you said you got that at your local beer store?
Yeah, it's like a grocery store, but like their largest section is beer, and they have stuff from like all over the world. So it's really cool.
And was that the same place that you got the Maine Brewing IPA?
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, you can find like such a wide range. I mean, I haven't gone to any other beer store for like the entirety of Pat's Beer Garage. It's only been one store.
I'm getting like shit shipped to me all the time and stuff like that because I can't, or getting them from like this beer group I'm in where people mule stuff in.
Yeah.
So that's amazing that you have a store that like has such a great variety. And I'm sure there probably is one or two of those around Buffalo. I just haven't found it yet.
Yeah. I think actually, wait, there might be, I'll send you the name afterwards, but it's called the Chicos. They might have a location up by you, if I'm not mistaken.
I'll have to check that out then.
If not though, like if you're ever down to come to like travel down south a little bit, we could like,
I mean, you're not that far. We could probably do a like in person.
Yeah, like go to the beer store right beforehand, see what we could capture.
Like you're right in Connecticut, New York border. I think that's like 6 hours away. Less than 6 hours actually.
Oh, word.
So we could definitely do an in-person beer review.
Yeah, even if we don't want to like do the full drive, we can meet halfway and find what breweries are around.
True, yeah, we could find like some sick brewery in the middle.
Yeah.
Hang out there and both try something that we've never had before. Also, so as I'm drinking this, and especially I think it's because of the temperature as it's warming up, I feel like I am getting more notes out of this of like that, like almost like a brown ale, like it still has that lager taste for sure. And I feel like probably the cold of it when I first poured it kind of influenced that, but it definitely has more of a like bready pumpernickel bread taste to it that wasn't there when I first poured it.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's like
it's gotten better as it's warmed up.
It's weird. Like some beers you kind of have to drink really cold, and then others you'd like lose flavor.
Like this almost, if I reviewed this now versus when I first poured it, I feel like I would have read it completely differently because now it has a lot more of a profile similar to a brown ale. Like that's great that I did it, like that this was a beer that I picked on this podcast because like for a beer, also I just want to bet on that Capitals game there. Goal with less than a second left to go. That hit my over, or actually 1.8 seconds to go. TJ Oshie, American Hero. Like most beer reviews, after I film it, after that like 2-3 minute review is done, I just sit there, sip the beer, drink it, enjoy it. But like if it changes as it warms up, that's not ever going to be reflected in anything. Where like on this podcast, this was almost like the perfect beer to review because it's like I'm almost drinking 2 beers at once. Because like now this, I'm getting like, it still tastes light to me. It's a little heavier on the aftertaste, but it still tastes light. But as it's warming up, I feel like it's actually getting better and a lot more unique in the fact that it has these notes that I'm picking up. Like it's a lot maltier now.
Okay.
Like it almost has like a bread dip kind of taste. Like when you have like a nice dark bread, whether it's like pumpernickel or a rye or whatever other kinds of dark breads there are, kind of has like those kind of notes to it when you're like dipping it in like a nice bread dip on a Sunday morning before a football game kind of taste. And it's like a very middle of the fall football season, like 11 o'clock before the games are going to kick off kind of taste.
Word. Is it something you have like a pizza?
No, it's like something you would have before the pizza gets delivered.
Okay.
And then you would like crack open a Bud Light or an IPA or something to go with the pizza. It's good. Like it, a lot of times, like, especially with IPAs, I've noticed, like, I think stouts definitely get where they get better as they warm up a little bit.
Yeah.
But with this one, and where like IPAs, I feel like get worse as they get warmer. Generally. There's a few exceptions to that, but generally, I feel like they get worse when they get warmer. This one has gotten immensely better and more flavorful.
Word. So this is like kind of like a more like behind the scenes of the Instagram review.
Yeah, which is sick, I think, like, because I've never been able to do that before. Like, even like that one that we did on our first podcast that both of us had, I feel like that one, it was like for both of us, it just stayed consistent throughout. Like from our first taste to as we sat there and drank it, as we recorded the podcast together and talked about that beer, it was consistent across the board. Where like this one, it literally tastes like 2 different beers. Like it went from like a Bud Light style, like normal golden lager, or Blue Light, actually. I don't think Bud Light lager. It went from like that kind of taste to like a very malty brown ale kind of taste.
That's interesting. Yeah. I'm noticing like differences in mine as well. I'm not happy that I spilled this one. But the last sip I got was more like a lot more melon heavy.
That was the IPA though that you spilled, right?
Yeah, but that's like interesting though that it's like the pine is taking a back seat now. It's like almost like more melon forward.
Interesting. And do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing for that beer?
I don't know how to judge it really. I think I kind of just think it just is what it is, and I like it.
Yeah, and that's cool that there's extra layers to it.
I'm not sure about this. I have to pour up another one.
Also, hilarious thing. Anytime I sneeze, my dog like thinks like, "What the fuck's happening?" Just runs over to me to see like, "What's up?" I feel like he thinks it's like a bark.
Oh, how have you learned my language?
Yeah, exactly. The last podcast me and you recorded, I had to stop it like 3 times to just go tell him to stop chewing on shit. But as he's gotten older, he's become a better boy.
Yeah, I have a 13-year-old Yorkie poodle mix, but if you saw him, you wouldn't believe me that he's 13. Like he has the energy of a 3-year-old.
Still has energy.
Yeah, like, and it's increasing, and the vet is actually kind of, he doesn't know why. Like he's like, he should have calmed down by 6, and he's still bolting around the house.
That's a great thing though. You might have a dog that lives till he's like 20 something. My little dude's a poodle mix too. He's a cockapoo, so half cocker spaniel, half poodle.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
So the other topic that I thought of actually while you were talking about how it had like almost that barrel aged taste.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on barrel aged beers? Just in general, and then we could dive into
in general, from what I see around society, I feel like it's becoming more prominent, and like I don't know if that means like they're making more of it, but I feel like it's becoming a little more popular. But I do find that I think the barrel does seep out some of the alcohol content, but it also kind of adds a little bit of flavor. But I would have to have them consistently to really get a grip on like where that all stands.
Are you like I know you said you don't like Scotch ales and stuff.
Oh no, sorry, I said Scotch whiskey.
Oh, Scotch whiskey. Actually, that actually helps the point I was going to make here. Me personally, I'm not a big bourbon guy at all, bourbon or whiskey in general. But one of the things I actually really want to get into is like sipping like a nice glass of bourbon and like actually enjoying it.
Yeah.
For me, it just tastes like fire in a glass.
Yeah, I've attempted that. It's very it's tricky.
Like I feel like that's cool. I think it's a bad word for it, but I feel like it's like cool to drink like to sit there and sip on a nice bourbon and like really enjoy it and like see the specific notes of a specific bourbon, that kind of thing. And I want to get into that. And just every time I've tried to do it, it's just tough to do. Like, it's just like a very heavy, harsh taste to me.
Yeah.
Where like in the back of my head, I know like this should taste good to you. Like
when I don't mean to interrupt you. Like when I first tried it, I'm like, I don't understand how people can sip it and be like, that's good. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, exactly. Like I got a handful of friends that do that where they'll just like sip a glass of bourbon and love it. Like even my dad will pour a like cup of, and like literally a cup. He does it like the trashy way with like a little Dixie, like a little plastic Dixie cup, not even like a glass, just plastic Dixie cup. And he'll only do like one of them like once a week maybe. But he'll just like pour his little cup of Red Stag, which is like a cherry flavored bourbon that I think tastes like shit. But he'll just sit there and like sip on it for like an hour. Can't get into it.
I think the whole challenge with that stuff is to make it taste good for yourself.
Yeah, and it's like it's
to try to like accept what it tastes like and make it good for yourself, I guess.
Yeah, which like I feel like we've probably done, like I'm sure that like the beers that me and you drink, like if a just random person cracked open one of these, I wouldn't say the IPAs, but at least the like 2 special beers that both of me and you cracked open, this one and that Berliner that you had. Like I feel like most people would be like, this is nuts. Like it's just like a very acquired flavor where like me and you could sit there and review it.
Yeah.
We did. I feel like that's probably kind of the case with bourbon too. What I was going to get into there was like, just because of that, like that, I could never like drink bourbon on its own. I never got into like these bourbon barrel aged. It's mainly been stouts I've seen. I've seen like a lot of bourbon barrel aged stouts, and then like a handful of sours that are aged in like rum barrels or wine barrels and stuff like that. And I had a handful of those like years back that I thought were good but not great. Where like I love having wine.
Yeah.
Like once a week. It's not as much as I love beer. Like I really love craft beers. And I could have like a nice craft beer every day if it wasn't for like working out and trying not to drink beers every day.
Yeah.
I clearly like just drink these all the time and love them. Well, like wine, it's like a very nice once a week thing to have. So like I think the like wine barrel aged sours and stuff that I've had like that have been awesome, but not something I'd like really seek out that hard.
Yeah.
So that never made me want to really try these bourbon barrel aged stouts. But like just seeing how much hype and shit that they got, and like I've seen like especially on my like local beer groups, like these breweries will release like maybe like 100 bottles. Like I know Mortalis, like usually once every 2-3 weeks they'll release like a bourbon barrel aged stout with like the wax coating on the top of the bottle. And like when you buy them at the brewery, it's like limit 1 or 2 per person, and they only make like 75 bottles of it or something. So it's like very low quantities, small batch kind of stuff, but they've been aged for like a year.
Yeah.
And like the starter stout on them is like a very good, really good tasting stout. So I've seen like in my like beer groups, people put these up for razzles where it's like they're getting like $150 for 1 bottle of these bourbon barrel aged stouts. I'm like, I don't even like bourbon. Like I'm not going to sit there and spend $100 some on one beer that has a base flavor that it's aged on that I don't really like.
Yeah, that's a little outrageous. Like
it's insane.
But I feel like all of the bourbon barrel like non-stouts that I've had, it's like you really don't taste bourbon. It's kind of just like a very like just like a noticeable accent like to the overall flavor.
Yeah. So that's actually what I was going to say too with like, so I haven't gotten that far into it, but like I won 1 bottle of a bourbon barrel aged stout. And then I've had like the Kentucky bourbon that you can get at like gas stations. Actually, let me grab I think I have 1 bottle of it left here. Yeah, like this one, the Kentucky bourbon barrel ale from Lexington Brewing Company. And I know they distribute this.
Oh yeah. I've had those before. Yeah,
like I didn't think this was bad. Like it definitely has that bourbon taste, but it has, like you said, I feel like it accents the flavor of the beer itself and gives it a little extra to it. But what I was going to say with the stouts that I've had that were bourbon barrel aged, which I think I've had 2 of them now, they were like actually like a very surprisingly good taste. Like, so for both of them, and they were both from like random breweries. They weren't breweries that I've had a lot of. Both of them, when I first poured it and smelled it, like if I was doing the way that I rate beers, I just do 1 rating across the board. But if I was doing it your style, where it's like smell, taste, and like look, the smell I would have probably rated very low on both of them because they just smelled like straight bourbon.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see that.
So like to me, I don't like that.
Yeah, me either.
I haven't gotten into bourbon. Well, like other people that like bourbon probably smell it and it's like, that's incredible. It just smells like a very nice smoky bourbon. Yeah. But both times I was super surprised at how great the beer itself tasted, where like you didn't really taste the bourbon. Like I got one. So that first review that we did when we ordered from that website, both of us ordered from, one of the things I got was a Bottle Logic Oreo stout that was bourbon barrel aged. Like I knew like a lot about Bottle Logic, but I had never had one of their beers before. So I figured like that was like a good one to try. So I included it in that order. And that one, like when I had it, as I poured it, it did smell like a stout, but like by far the bigger prominent scent was that bourbon. And it was like, I didn't expect to like the beer itself as much as I did. Or it was just like an incredible beer on its own.
Yeah, that is important though, when you get like the actual beer flavor first and then
and like just that bourbon taste, even though it was so prominent on the smell on both beers, it was secondary in the flavor where it like accented the flavor with like a little bit extra smokiness to it and like a little bit of an extra oomph to the flavor and a little bit more booziness. But it like really surprised me in like a real good way how good the beer tasted compared to how I thought it would when I smelled it.
Yeah, that's interesting. And maybe like bourbon barrel beer is like a good way of actually getting into bourbon.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking too. Like if I could, because I feel like, so like I always hated doing shots too, just across the board. Like I hate doing shots of shit. Like if I go to a bar and one of my friends like buys a shot of something, if it's like any kind of whiskey, I'm just like, nope, not gonna do it.
Yeah.
Like when I was younger, I used to do it with Fireball, and that was like one exception. But like if someone buys me like a shot of Jack or something, I'm just leaving it there. I ain't doing it.
Yeah, for some reason, at least for me, like that stuff is just the worst possible hangovers. Like
for me, it's like I kind of agree with that because I feel like it just escalates the hangover in general because you're just.
It feels like there's like a block of wood that's been shoved in your stomach.
Yeah, but like it's the bigger thing for me is as I'm drinking it, like if I just take a shot of Jack, I feel like I gotta throw up immediately.
Yeah, that too. Yeah,
that instant response to it's terrible for me.
Yeah,
or like I feel like the reason I can't like sit there and sip on a glass of bourbon is because of that. Like it's the same smell.
Yeah,
and I feel like it's the smell that really gets me with like a shot. Where like I expected the exact same thing with these bourbon barrel aged stouts. Like I like sat there, I like smelled it. That's what I do on every beer I have. I smell it before I drink it. It was like, this just smells like straight bourbon. So I expected not to like it. And then I liked the beer.
I think the trick is to like forget that it was bourbon aged and just kind of just.
Yeah, exactly. And just like drink it as its own and it tastes delicious.
Yeah.
So I feel like I kind of want to get into those more, but if I do, it'll definitely be like cheaper style. Like I sure should have not paying $100 for a bottle of like a Mortalis barrel aged.
No, yeah, no, that's all based on hype and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like when they only make 75 bottles of it, 100 people go for just any normal release to pick up cans.
Yeah, I mean,
those barrel aged beers are going to sell out just off the hype. Or even those like people that are so into that style. Like I know Angry Chair in Tampa makes these like bourbon barrel aged stouts that everyone loves that they try to get. And like I've had a handful of Angry Chair stouts, like the non-BA ones, like just the normal standard ones that I thought were really good, but they didn't like completely blow my mind at all. Where like I've heard like that their barrel aged stuff is insane.
Yeah.
Honestly, like makes sense that the breweries do them in smaller batches because they got to sit there and use up space in their brewery for a barrel for at least like a year.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so that's kind of why they can charge that price, even though it is kind of outrageous. But it all pays the bills at the end of the day, really.
Yeah. Like when the breweries are selling them, I want to say like these bottles are only like $20-$30, which isn't bad when like the non-BA version is like $18 to $25. So it's only like a small upcharge, but when they only make like 75 of them, the craft beer community's got pounced at it. I can't remember. I know I've had one beer that was like campfire flavored, but that was so like when I had that, it was Labatt who makes. Pretty sure you guys have like Labatt Blue and stuff in Connecticut, right?
I haven't seen it. No.
So that's like a very like Canadian Buffalo. Because it's like right on the border.
Yeah.
Regular lager. It's like Labatt Blue Light. That's like that's right up there with Bud Light. Like if you ask every person in Buffalo what their like go-to cheap shitty beer is, I would say it's probably like 55% Blue Light, 50% Bud Light. Realistically, they're pretty much the same fucking beer. At one point, like probably like 7 years ago, so it's been a while. Which was before I really got into craft beers. Like when I would go to a bar and I would see like some random beer on the menu, I would try it out. but I
Yeah.
wasn't like fully in craft beers. Like I wasn't in like beer clubs. I wasn't getting beers mailed to me. I wasn't reviewing beers for sure. So it was way before that. So Labatt, who makes like just a regular standard beer that everyone drinks on a regular basis, had like some limited series of beers at one point, and one of them was like a campfire like flavor. And I thought it sucked because it tasted just like you described.
Yeah.
It tasted like you were drinking campfire smoke
Yeah, no, it's just, and like,
with a real shitty base flavor.
and that flavor for some reason just does not go away either. Like I couldn't get that flavor out of my mouth. Like I had like a full meal and it just was still there.
So this might make me sound like kind of weird, but like people love having campfires and chilling by a campfire, which I also like relaxing near a campfire, drinking a couple beers or whatever, drinking like a nice glass of wine by a fire. But the thing I can't stand is like how you smell after a campfire.
Yeah.
And like I actually like the smell of the fire as it's going and I'm like sitting out there. When you come in and even like when you shower and it just smells like campfire smoke, can't stand that.
Yeah.
So for like a beer to taste like that, like stale old smoke, I feel like it's gross.
Yeah,
But I haven't had one in like years.
Yeah, I stumble into them once in a while, but yeah, no, it's exactly what you said. Like, because I remember Boy Scouts, it just like that smell. It's like old food with just charcoal. It's just sort of a weird smell. It's just like it's just a nauseating smell.
Because like I love smoked food and stuff, but
yeah,
it like tastes nothing like that. It's campfire mixed into a beer.
But I do have to say though, the good smoke ales that I've had, it's like, let me find the bottle real quick. I can't find it. The good smoke ales I've had is by Sherling Kurla. It tastes and smells like both like smoked Gouda and like whatever like the best barbecue house you have in your area. Like
all that sounds incredible. Like
yeah. It tastes
cheese with barbecue.
Tastes nothing like campfire. Hold on, I have to pause because I got to go to the bathroom.
Okay, I do too. We'll take like a 2-minute break.
Sounds good. Word.
I'm not gonna lie. After we sat there talking about stouts, bourbon barrel aged shit, kind of want to crack open the stout now.
I still have like this whole bottle left, so
if I have like a light stout that's like 5-6%, I'll crack one open. But so the lightest craft stout I found in there was like 8.6%. So I'm having this instead.
Oh, word, Guinness.
Classic, nice and light. I think these are only like 4%, aren't they?
I think yeah, like 4.6 or something.
So this I'll gladly just sit here and sip on. Still get the stout taste.
I haven't had a Guinness in a while. I used to have like special glasses that you'd like pour it like a specific way. You'd like kind of pour it down the side.
Yeah, I do have a Guinness glass, but I don't really care to drink. Like these are probably still from last St. Patrick's Day that were just sitting.
Yeah, I still have a beer. I was gifted from my cousin from Indiana. It's brewed like by Purdue University. I was meant to do a beer pairing with that and Sally's Pizza up in New Haven, but so it's an hour 15 minutes drive to Sally's. I go all the way there. I cop the pie. I try it out and review it. I get home, forget about the whole deal, and I get a little stoned, and I'm like, oh, I'm hungry. So then
you eat the food.
I ate the rest of the pie, thinking that there was more pie, and then the next day I'm like, all right, let's do the review, and I'm like, oh. I ate all the pizza, so I'm gonna have to go back to Sally's.
I know,
but that's been in the fridge since like December. It's like a lager. I'm hoping that it's still okay.
So I've actually never had like there's been maybe like 5% of beers that I think have been shittier as they've sat in my fridge for so long. But I've definitely had beers that I've let sit for like well over a year across every style, just out of either. I forget they're like in the back of the fridge because there's other ones in front of it that sound good or whatever it is. But there's like definitely been a handful of sours and IPAs where like I cracked it open and it was good. And I was like, I kind of wish that I had this fresh. But I would say like maybe like only 5% of those like older beers that have stayed refrigerated that I've been like, this sucks.
Okay,
like,
yeah, that
boiled in the fridge. So I feel like being in the fridge makes them last, but even Treehouse, which is like by far my favorite brewery, makes the best IPAs in the world, in my opinion, in Boston. Like, I've had, even within like a weekend, I've had like a fresh can of Treehouse Green that was like canned like 2 weeks prior to me drinking it, and one that was like sitting for like a year or so. And you could definitely taste the difference in it, but it's not a significant enough difference for me to care.
Okay, that makes me feel better. There was
So I wouldn't worry too much on that.
There's one that I actually want to. I'll show you here that I want to age. There was this Russian Imperial Stout that I picked up. I mean, I don't know. It's controversial.
Like stouts you could definitely sit there and let them age forever.
This can be like aged up to 13 years.
Damn.
And this was amazing, just fresh out of the bottle. But I mean, not to be controversial with Russian and stuff, but I want to go buy this bottle again and age it for like. I want to get like 3 or 4 bottles, age one for like,
and age them separately, like,
and see how they
like
compare.
have one after like a year, have one after like 3 years, and so on.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Like I agree with you on that point. Like, let's take Anastasia or whatever off of Disney Plus, because that's gonna make a difference. I don't want
it's
like
all,
pour out Russian vodka. That's perfectly good.
It's all virtue signaling and rhetoric. It's not actual truth.
It has zero effect on our life. So definitely go buy like 5 of those.
Yeah.
Separately for.
Yeah. Well, hey, it happened to says the word Russia on it.
They don't know when you started aging it.
Yeah. Exactly. So what should we do for our next one? Like what? Because like this one, I thought
today's format was a lot of fun, and I thought the first format was real fun. First off, before we discuss this, do we want to like close off the podcast so you can edit in that close?
I think we can like maybe include this also, because that way they can see like our constructive like ideas from like behind.
That's a good idea too. We'll just cut out this little clip here if it's talking about that.
Yeah. This one I was just I kind of want to like, I have a couple titles I could send you to like just test each one, but I was thinking of doing this maybe like regular beer versus crazy beer, and maybe
I like that too, actually. Yeah.
So like what should we do for like the next one? Should we do just like maybe one bold style, or I mean we can do like, this is such an open field, like we can do anything.
Yeah, there's so much to do where like at the same point we're just drinking a beer and reviewing it essentially each time and then discussing it. Although both podcasts, like we've gone well over an hour on both podcasts, and like we didn't really have any walls or anything. Like we just continued to discuss organically as how topics came up. So I feel like we for sure need a starting point for every episode.
Okay, yeah.
And then just where it goes. So I really liked both things we did. Like I thought that both of us drinking a beer together that was the same beer, like comparing it, discussing it and everything. The first show was awesome. And then like today, I had a ton of fun doing this too. So what I would say maybe for the next one is actually similar to the first part that we did. Actually, kind of like a combination of the two. So what I was thinking is like, so the first one, we just picked some random crazy beer that neither of us had before. And we both tried it out, compared it, talked about it. This one, we both just picked a style and then just did like a local good IPA that both of us had and compared it, talked about it, did our like main reviews and everything on it. Yeah. And then we just picked some random crazy ass beer out of each of our fridges and just reviewed them individually and then discussed it. I feel like we could almost like combine those for the next one. Like, so I go find like some crazy ass beer that I feel like you've never had the style of.
Yeah.
You do the same. And then we like do almost like the first review where we both had the same beer together, but like you would have no idea what the beer that I pick was until you cracked it open. And I have no idea what the beer you had when you crack it open. And so like say you go to your regular beer store and buy 2 bottles of this. I go to my beer store or find something online and buy like 2 bottles of this. We send them to each other and then do them together again. So it's like combining both styles.
Yeah.
What do you think of that idea?
Yeah, I like that idea also. And then like
besides our illegal mailing of beers for $5
yeah.
away.
Yeah, I got to figure out how to run that. Maybe I can order and have it shipped to you.
Yeah, and same here. I would just ship it to you at that point. I wouldn't really think too far into that.
I like that idea, and I think also, like for maybe like consistency's sake, I think I'd like what we did tonight, and I think maybe like we can do that idea. And in the future, I want to maybe we can do like a stout and a crazy beer, and then after that we can do like a Hefeweizen and a crazy beer.
And I feel like we go on long enough that like we could easily both drink 2 beers in a podcast.
Yeah.
Well, like the first one, I feel like we kind of limited ourselves. Plus, that was the first podcast, so just doing one.
Yeah, we were filling out the water and stuff, but I feel like this one also. There's like, I feel like just doing stuff naturally also. I'm finding out like with this podcast, there's more like distinctive segments that I can like clip out and stuff. So that's also cool that like just the natural doing it. We're already kind of figuring out a structure.
Yeah, and like we didn't plan any of this. The only thing we planned before this episode was that we would both do an IPA and like talk about it. And then we would both do like some random crazy beer and talk about it. And we've sat here and talked for an hour and 45 minutes already about these beers. So like obviously like you can't just sit there and discuss a beer that we essentially both do on a daily basis in like a 3 to 5 minute video.
Yeah. We can't for
an hour and 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere. So I feel like that flow's already there. So we just got to come up with those starter ideas and that kicks off the conversation.
Yeah, exactly. And like that's kind of my whole side with Pat's Beer Garage is like it's very loose, unscripted, but it just has those handlebars enough where you can figure out the natural structure.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly the same as mine. And like I talked about how I started my whole beer review thing on the podcast, but like I made my site for gambling on hockey and gambling on golf. So then when I had nothing to gamble on during COVID and I still wanted to make content because I think like making content's fun, even no one even really watches it to a general level. I have a blast doing these all the time.
You can watch them back in like 30 years.
Exactly. Like that's sick. And or you could like there's been times that like someone will ask me like, was this beer good the last time it was made? Like just out of like Mortalis will release some random sour.
Yeah.
Someone will ask, do you like this one? I don't even remember because I drink so many random beers all the time.
You can just send them a
review. I can just look up my own review and just go right back in time to it. Yeah. So like, I feel like it's very easy and natural to do these. So both of us having that thought and that mindset going into it, like I feel like we could sit here and talk about anything for like 2 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
That's beer related. So
and I feel like even just that was clippable. Like that can go up on like an Instagram story.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's how all these big podcast networks do their shit. Like they just pick random clips and they promo them, and that gets people to watch their podcast and grows. Yeah.
And like I kind of figure it's like I've struggled with like a YouTube addiction. So it's like it's kind of to the point where I've seen enough of it to kind of know what it should look like.
Yeah. And I feel like we're doing a good job with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially for like, this is only the second one. So, I mean, we're already like making strides.
Exactly. Like we're going to be talking for 2 hours by the time that we end the show. And like, there was never any, like we have that like natural chemistry of talking that it just works.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that idea of that. Like we both, like we did today, where we pick some crazy random beer, regardless of style, and both of us will like combine it, and both of us have that. I think that's a good natural starting point for our conversation for episode 3.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess we have a starting point. And anyone watching, make sure you hit up both of us on Instagram.
Yep, I'll leave links will be at, like where I'm pointing
down here. And let us know, like, if you think you could find some other idea that Pat and I haven't thought of yet that you would be interested in seeing, that you think would be fun, send it over to us and we'll most likely do it.
Yeah, because that's my whole thing also is like, this is all for you guys. Like, this is not like for me to get my 2 cents in and get a reaction. Like, this is, if you guys want to see something,
it's definitely fun for us to do as well, but
yeah, but that's not, I'm not trying to like,
we want people to enjoy watching us.
Yeah, but it's not like, it's not meant to be like, I don't like, for example, I don't like, if I were to sell merch, I don't want to sell Pat's Beer Garage merch. And everybody asks me why, but it's just, I want to make it for them. So like that t-shirt, that t-shirt giveaway I did a while back was I took the winner and I kind of ran through their beer feed and found like 3 or 4 very meaningful photos, like maybe them with their family, them with their dog, them drinking their favorite beer. I combined them and like had it drawn up and threw it on a t-shirt and I sent it to them. So it's literally a tribute to them. So like, that's kind of what I'm here for. Like, I don't want to just sell for the sake of it. So guys, if you have any ideas for us, like if you want to see a certain thing, we'll do it because we want to create stuff you'll see. So
well, we'll do anything that our fans will want us to do. So
well, within reason.
Beer related.
Yeah, we're not gonna like shoot
yeah.
thumbtacks into our belly button or something.
But yeah, so let us know. But if we don't hear from anyone on suggestions, I think episode 3 we have a solid plan as a starting point for, and then we'll just roll into that. So
yeah. So yeah, like let me know also like whenever you're available next and stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like the cadence of doing these like once a month or so would be perfect.
Yeah, now we can just like dip our toes in the water and see our viewership from that and stuff. And
yeah, we can like gauge what works best too. Like especially like we only have one to compare it to right now.
Yeah.
So the more that we do, the more comparisons we'll have, and the more we could grow on that. So solid starting point.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. So thanks everyone for checking out the podcast. If you stuck with us for an hour and 45 minutes, thank you very much. You're crushing it. Hit us up. Let us know any feedback, any thoughts and everything. And we'll see you on the next show.
I have an idea, actually. I'm going to say a very unique word. If you're here to the end and you comment that word below, I'll give you a follow.
Same. Both of us will.
I don't know any big words. I just kind of fucked myself. Let me look.
And actually, if you hit us both up, I'll see if I can find something to send you.
Word. That sounds great. Yeah, I'll send you something too. I might do that t-shirt idea.
Yeah, I might do some cool beer. I'll find some cool beer and send it to you. If you send both Pat and I the word, and let us know your favorite topic that we discussed on this show.
You don't have to spell the word correctly either, because some of these are ridiculous. I'll choose this one. Xenoplantan. Wait, hold on. Let me restart. Xenotransplantation. That's the word. Xenoplantan. You heard it. Let me choose a different.
Xenotransplantation.
Xenotransplantation. You can spell it however you like, as long as you get the word. You can spell it Zeno, whatever. If you see that word, comment both of us, and we have something special.
Yep, you'll probably get a beer and a t-shirt, so can't beat that for just watching a podcast. So
yeah, exactly.
All right, that's a show. Great craft beer conversation. Thanks, Pat. Always great talking to you. And thanks for all our viewers.
Yeah, of course. I'm gonna stop.
All right, solid show, dude.